The vanishing and the void. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Supreme. Arbiter Velther of the Quinthian Empire slammed 3 of his 4 arms against the obsidian council table. His crystalline eyes blazing with an emotion his species rarely displayed, fear. Around him, representatives from 47 star systems erupted in a cacophony of clicks, hisses, and harmonic frequencies that the translation matrix struggled to parse. Silence. Velther's voice cut through the din like a plasma blade. We have confirmation. The readings are accurate. A holographic display materialized above the table, rotating slowly. It showed a spiral arm of the galaxy, and within it, a pulsing red indicator marking a region that had been dark for a millennium. The Sol system, whispered Ambassador Threen, her gelatinous form quivering. It's back. The chamber fell silent. 47 species, representing billions of souls across hundreds of worlds, stared at the impossible. The Sol system, humanity's cradle, the greatest mystery in recorded galactic history, had returned. 1,000 years earlier, the disappearance had been instantaneous. One moment. Earth and its 8 planets orbited their yellow star in the predictable dance that had continued for billions of years. Human colonies dotted Luna, Mars, and the moons of Jupiter. Humanity had just achieved faster-than-light travel, had just made first contact with the Viridian Collective, had just begun to take their first tentative steps into the greater galactic community. Then, without warning, without any detectable energy signature or spatial distortion, the entire Sol system simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, not consumed, just gone, replaced by empty space as if it had never been. The Viridians, who had been in the middle of trade negotiations with Earth's diplomatic corps, found their communication channels dead. Ships en route to Sol never arrived. There was nothing to arrive to. The space where a star and its planetary family should have been became nothing more than void, a perfectly spherical absence, roughly 2 light years in diameter. The galaxy mobilized. Search fleets from a dozen species combed the region with every sensor known to science. Temporal physicists proposed theories ranging from spontaneous dimensional collapse to deliberate self-imposed exile. Religious scholars called it divine judgment or transcendence. Military strategists whispered about unknown weapons. But as years became decades, and decades became centuries, the search efforts dwindled. The mystery of humanity's vanishing became legend, then myth, then a cautionary tale told to young civilizations about the dangers of technological hubris. The Sol system was designated as the Dead Zone, a quarantined region where reality itself seemed unstable. Few dared approach it. Even fewer returned with anything but empty sensor logs and existential dread. And humanity? The humans who had been scattered across a dozen colony worlds and diplomatic stations when Earth vanished became the forgotten. Their numbers dwindled through the centuries, diluted by interbreeding, absorbed into other cultures, their unique heritage becoming little more than an asterisk in galactic databases. The present, Viridian Prime. Outer Colony's Kira Chun wiped the sweat from her brow, leaving a streak of industrial lubricant across her dark skin. The hydraulic press she'd been repairing hissed to life, its enormous arms beginning their rhythmic compression of raw ore into refined ingots. Good work. Half-breed, her supervisor grunted, not bothering to look up from his datapad. The Viridian's bioluminescent patches flickered with dismissive yellow, the color of contempt. Kira bit back her response. She'd learned long ago that defending her humanity only made things worse. Here on Viridian Prime, in the bustling mining colonies that fed the Empire's industrial heart, being descended from the vanished ones made you little more than a curiosity at best, a liability at worst. She gathered her tools and headed toward the locker room, her reflection catching in a polished metal panel. At 26, she still looked fully human, dark eyes, black hair pulled into a practical braid, the slight build that marked her as unsuited for heavy labor in the eyes of the larger alien species. But her genetic profile told a different story. 47% human, 31% Viridian, 22% Corinthian. A mongrel, in the parlance of the pure bloods. Her grandmother had been one of the last pure humans, born on a colony ship fleeing the dead zone in the chaotic years after the vanishing. She'd told young Kira stories of Earth, of oceans and forests, of a blue sky, of a world where humans had belonged, where they'd been more than the butt of cosmic jokes, the species that disappeared, people would say with amusement. So advanced, they thought they could challenge the universe itself. Look where it got them. Kira was pulling off her work suit when every screen in the facility erupted with emergency broadcasts. The face of Supreme Arbiter Velther appeared, his crystalline features grave. Behind him, Kira could see the emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives in various states of agitation. Citizens of the galactic community, Velther began, his voice carrying the weight of epoch-changing news. Approximately 2 hours ago, our Deep Space Monitoring Network detected a spatial anomaly in Sector 773, previously designated as the Dead Zone. Kira's heart stopped. The Sol System, Velther continued, each word falling like a hammer, has returned. The locker room exploded with noise. Workers crowded around screens, their conversations a jumbled mix of disbelief and excitement. Kira stood frozen, her grandmother's stories suddenly feeling less like fairy tales and more like prophecies. The broadcast continued, showing long-range sensor data. The familiar shape of the Sol System materialized on the displays, but something was wrong. No, not wrong, different. Initial scans indicate significant alterations to the system, a Corinthian scientist was saying, his multiple arms gesturing at holographic data. The planetary bodies are present, but enhanced. We're detecting massive artificial structures. Energy signatures consistent with Kardashev scale, 2 civilization at minimum. And, he paused, his crystalline eyes widening. And what? Velther demanded. Sir, we're detecting active power sources. Millions of them. The system isn't just back. It's single quotes occupied, and whatever is there is generating energy output that exceeds our entire galactic community combined. Asterisk 3 days later. Council Science Vessel, Harmonious Inquiry. Captain Zixtau watched the view screen with a mixture of awe and terror that his species, instinctive emotional dampening, couldn't quite suppress. They had been traveling for 3 days at maximum FTL, leading a reconnaissance fleet of 12 ships representing 6 different species. The Galactic Council had ordered immediate investigation, overriding the ancient quarantine protocols that had kept the dead zone sealed for centuries. Now, as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol System, Zixtel understood why humanity had been called the Vanished Ones, because what lay before them wasn't the system that had disappeared. This was something else entirely. Gods of the Void, his science officer whispered. Earth, the third planet, the cradle of humanity hung in space like a jewel, but wrapped around it in perfect geometric precision were 3 massive rings, each one glowing with a soft blue radiance that suggested power sources beyond anything in the galactic database. The rings weren't static, they rotated slowly, sections of them disappearing and reappearing in flashes of what looked like controlled spatial folding. Mars, the 4th planet, gleamed, but not with the rusty red of ancient sensor records. Its surface shimmered with the unmistakable blue of oceans, interrupted by landmasses, covered in what looked like crystalline structures that caught and reflected light in impossible ways. Asterisk beyond the asteroid belt. Jupiter's moons Europa, Ganymede, Callisto. Io burned with the light of civilization. Cities, vast and gleaming, covered their surfaces in intricate geometric patterns. Energy bridges connected them to each other and to Jupiter itself, which seemed to be wrapped in its own network of harvesting stations, drinking energy directly from the gas giant's storms. "Sir," the sensor officer reported, her voice shaking, "I'm reading energy signatures consistent with controlled fusion, matter-antimatter reactions, zero-point energy extraction, and something else. Something that doesn't match any known physics in our database." "Life signs?" Zixtal asked. "Millions, billions. But sir, the readings are strange. I can't get a clear classification. It's like they're human, but also not. The biosignatures are shifting, adapting to our scans as if they know we're looking." Zixtal felt his respiratory spiracles tighten with anxiety. "Open a communication channel. All frequencies. Channel open, Captain." Asterisk, he cleared his throat. "This is Captain Zixtal of the Galactic Council vessel Harmonious Inquiry. We come in peace, representing the unified species of the galactic community. We ... We welcome Earth's return and wish to establish diplomatic." Every screen on the bridge went dark. Then, simultaneously, they all flickered to life, showing the same image. Earth, beautiful and terrible, wrapped in its rings of light, and a voice human, but layered with harmonics that suggested something far beyond baseline humanity spoke. Approach no further. The words were simple, the tone neutral, but every member of Zixtal's crew felt it in their bones, in their genetic memory, in whatever part of their beings recognized predators. "We are the returned children of Sol," the voice continued. "We remember the day we vanished. We remember the galaxy's promises of aid, of unity, of fellowship among the stars." A pause, heavy with meaning. "We remember who came looking for us." Another pause, and we remember who didn't. On the view screen, Earth's orbital rings began to glow brighter. Around the reconnaissance fleet, space itself seemed to ripple, as if reality was preparing to reshape itself. "We remember everything," the voice said. And now there was an edge to it, not quite anger, but something colder, something more final. "Now," the voice concluded, "you will remember us." The screens went dark again, but in the void around them, lights began to appear. Not stars, not planets, ships, thousands of them, materializing out of folded space like ghosts becoming solid. They were sleek and predatory, built with geometries that hurt to look at, their hulls seeming to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. And on every ship, a symbol glowed, a blue marble wrapped in rings of light. Earth had returned, and it had brought an armada. Asterisk, we remember the broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy simultaneously. It didn't travel through conventional communication networks. It didn't require relay stations or quantum entanglement bridges. One moment, the galaxy went about its business merchants haggling in the floating markets of Thesservie, scientists conducting experiments in the orbital labs above Quintia Prime, families gathering for evening meals on 10,000 worlds. The next moment, every screen, every holographic display, every neural interface in explored space showed the same thing. Earth, magnificent and transformed, rotating slowly against the black velvet of space. And then, humanity spoke. "We are the children of Sol," the voice began. It was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It simply was, carrying within it the resonance of billions of voices speaking as one. 1,000 years ago, we vanished from this galaxy. Today, we return. And we remember everything. On Viridian Prime, Kira Chan stood transfixed in the factory yard, surrounded by hundreds of workers who had stopped mid-shift to stare at the emergency broadcasts. Her supervisor, the one who'd called her half-breed, just days ago, looked pale. his bioluminescent patches flickering erratically between colors that suggested fear. "You think your people abandoned us," the voice continued. "You think we fled, or were destroyed, or transcended into some higher plane of existence beyond your understanding. You are partially correct. We did transcend, but not how you imagine." The image of Earth pulled back, revealing more of the Sol system. Mars with its impossible oceans. The glittering cities on Jupiter's moons. The asteroid belt, now organized into perfect geometric formations, each rock positioned with mathematical precision. And everywhere, ships, millions of them, ranging from small craft no larger than atmospheric shuttles to city-sized dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the galactic fleet. "When we achieved faster-than-light travel," the voice said, "we thought we had reached the pinnacle of physics. We were children, playing with toys we didn't understand. Then we discovered something else, something beyond the speed of light, beyond conventional space entirely." On the Galactic Council's emergency session, Supreme Arbiter Velther watched with growing dread. Around him, representatives from 47 species sat in stunned silence. "We discovered how to fold reality itself," humanity's voice declared. "How to step outside the universe and create our own pocket of existence. We didn't vanish, Galactic Council. We chose to leave. We took our entire system, our sun, our planets, our moons, everything, and we stepped sideways into a dimension of our own making." The holographic display shifted, showing what looked like a tear in space, a wound in reality, through which another universe could be glimpsed. "We did this because we saw what you could not. We ran the calculations, built the models, studied the patterns of galactic civilization. We saw that humanity, as we were, would be consumed by the greater galaxy. Not through malice, but through simple mathematics. Our culture, our identity, our very genome would be diluted across 1,000 worlds until nothing remained but genetic echoes and historical footnotes." Kira felt tears streaming down her face. Around her, other humans, the scattered descendants, the forgotten ones, the half-breeds and quarter-bloods, wept openly. Because the voice was speaking a truth they had lived for generations. "So we left," the voice continued. "We took our cradle with us and retreated into isolation. For 1,000 years of your time, though only 100 years passed for us in our pocket dimension, we worked. We evolved. We built. We became something more." The image shifted again, now showing the interior of one of Earth's orbital rings. Kira gasped. The structures were impossibly vast, continents of metal and energy, containing cities that seemed to blend organic and synthetic elements seamlessly. And the people, the humans walking through those cities, looked human, but perfected. Taller, more graceful, their bodies seeming to shimmer slightly, as if not quite solid, as if they existed partially in other dimensions. "We are post-human now," the voice explained. "We have integrated technology into our very cells. We have extended our lifespans to thousands of years. We have enhanced our minds to process information at quantum speeds. We have become capable of manipulating matter and energy at the molecular level. We are what humanity was always meant to be." "This is a nightmare," Ambassador Threen whispered in the council chamber. "They're talking about conquest." But Velther shook his head slowly, his crystalline eyes reflecting the light from the holographic display. "No," he said quietly. "They're talking about something worse. They're talking about judgment." As if hearing him, the voice shifted in tone. The neutrality gave way to something colder. "We watched you, Galactic Council. From our pocket dimension, we maintained observation posts. We saw what became of our people, the humans who remained behind on colony worlds and diplomatic stations. We saw how you treated them. Images flashed across screens throughout the galaxy. Humans working in menial labor. Human children denied admission to prestigious academies. Human merchants charged triple rates for docking fees. Human representatives excluded from council votes on matters that affected them. 1,000 small cruelties, a millennium of casual dismissal. You didn't hunt us, the voice said. You didn't enslave us. You did something far more insidious. You forgot us. You let our descendants become footnotes in your histories. Curiosities, mongrels. The word hung in the air like an accusation. Kira felt her supervisor's eyes on her, saw the shame in his flickering bioluminescence. Now we have returned, the voice declared, and we offer you a choice. Earth orbit, the ascension platform. Kira couldn't believe she was here. The message had come 2 days after the broadcast. All humans of soul descent, pure or mixed, are invited to return to Earth. A ship will arrive to collect you. You have 3 days to decide. She'd thought it was a joke. Then the ship had arrived, a sleek, impossible craft that made the most advanced Galactic Council vessels look like stone tools by comparison. She'd boarded with 300 other descendants from Viridian Prime, her hands shaking, her heart threatening to burst from her chest. The journey to Earth had taken hours instead of the weeks it should have required. The ship had folded space around it, arriving at Sol without ever really traveling the distance between. Now she stood on the ascension platform, one of the massive orbital rings surrounding Earth. Through the transparent floor beneath her feet, she could see her ancestral homeworld rotating slowly, oceans, blue and clean, continents green and thriving, cities glowing like constellations. Beautiful, isn't it? Kira turned. The woman who'd spoken looked maybe 30, with features that could have been Asian, African, European, or all three humanities' diversity, perfected and unified. She wore a simple outfit that seemed to shift colors subtly, and her eyes held depths that suggested far more than 3 decades of experience. I'm Yuna, the woman said, smiling. I was born on Earth about 70 years ago, before we entered the pocket dimension. I'm here to help you understand what happens next. What does happen next? Kira asked, her voice barely a whisper. Yuna gestured at the viewing platform where thousands of other descendants had gathered humans from hundreds of worlds, bearing the genetic markers of dozens of alien species, but still carrying the spark of Earth's children. You have a choice to make, Yuna explained. You can return to your lives in the galaxy, carrying with you the knowledge that humanity has returned and will never again be forgotten. We'll provide you with technology, resources, anything you need to live with dignity among the other species. Or, Kira asked, asterisk. Yuna's smile widened. Or you can undergo the ascension. We can rewrite your genetic code, enhance your neural pathways, integrate quantum processors into your cellular structure. We can make you what we are post-human. It's not easy. It takes months, and you'll never be quite the same again. But you'll be more. Kira looked down at Earth, at the home she'd never known, but had dreamed about for 26 years. She thought about her grandmother's stories, about the factory supervisor's contempt, about 1,000 small humiliations that came from being humanity's forgotten child. How many have chosen ascension? She asked. So far? About 90% of those who've arrived. Yuna paused. But it's not about revenge, Kira. It's about becoming who we were always meant to be, together. Before Kira could respond, a tone sounded across the platform. Every screen showed the same image, the Galactic Council chamber. They're making their decision. Yuna said quietly, Galactic Council, the reckoning supreme arbiter. Velthur stood before the assembled council. His forearms spread in a gesture of supplication or surrender, he wasn't sure which. The terms are clear, he said. His voice carried to every world in the galactic community. Humanity demands formal recognition as a sovereign power with full voting rights in council matters. They demand reparations for the treatment of their descendants, over the past millennium. They demand unrestricted access to all galactic trade routes and markets. And they demand a formal apology. Outrageous. The Viserion representative bellowed. They abandon the galaxy for 1,000 years and return making demands? They return, Velther said coldly, with technology that makes our entire combined fleet obsolete. They return with the ability to fold space itself. They return with the power to disassemble a planet and reassemble it in a different form. I've seen the demonstrations, Ambassador. Would you like me to show you what they did to one of Saturn's moons? He gestured at the holographic display. It showed a moon mass, according to the label being systematically deconstructed by swarms of nanomachines. Its matter reorganized into a perfect sphere, covered in energy collectors and habitats. The process had taken 17 minutes. The chamber fell silent. They're not asking for a place in the galaxy, Velther continued. They're telling us the terms under which they'll allow us to remain in their galaxy. Because make no mistake, they could conquer us in a matter of months if they chose. Instead, they're offering us peace, partnership, a chance to join them in their next phase of evolution. And if we refuse? Someone asked. Velther's crystalline eyes seemed to dim. Then they'll simply ignore us. They'll expand, they'll grow, they'll continue their evolution, and we'll become what they once were, footnotes in the history of a species that outgrew us. The vote was unanimous. 1 month later, Earth Kira opened her eyes and saw the universe, not metaphorically, not poetically. She saw it. Every particle, every wave, every quantum possibility collapsed into temporary reality. Her consciousness expanded beyond her physical form, touching the network that connected all post-humans. Billions of minds linked in a vast chorus of thought and feeling. The ascension had taken 32 days. It had been agony and ecstasy, death and rebirth. Now she stood in a garden on Earth, feeling the sun on her skin, and knowing that skin was reading and analyzing every photon, that her body was processing information faster than the most advanced computer in the old galaxy, that she was connected to every other human in the Sol system through quantum entanglement. How do you feel? Una asked, standing beside her. In this state, Kira could see her new friend truly, not just physical form, but the patterns of thought and energy that made up her consciousness. Like I've been asleep my whole life, Kira said, her voice resonating with harmonics that carried meaning beyond words. Like I'm finally awake. They stood together, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that Kira's enhanced vision could now distinguish at wavelengths her old eyes never could have perceived. In orbit above, the rings hummed with power, each one a monument to humanity's refusal to be forgotten. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council was already implementing the terms of the treaty. Human descendants were being offered scholarships, positions, opportunities. The prejudice of a millennium couldn't be erased overnight, but it was beginning to crack. And in the Sol system, millions of ships prepared for the next phase. Not conquest, not war, exploration, expansion, evolution. What's next? Kira asked. Yuna smiled, and through their connection, Kira felt the answer before it was spoken. Everything, Una said. The galaxy is vast, Kira, and we're just getting started. Above them, Earth's orbital rings flared to life, a beacon visible for hundreds of light years. Not a warning, not a threat, a promise. Humanity had returned, and this time they would never be forgotten again. Asterisk.